Dave Mazzella, I'm really glad I made the choice to come here. That's all the questions I have.
Ken Miske, alias Ken Death, has already pleaded guilty to the killing and is serving a life term in prison. Deese will now try to prove that Miske and the other skinheads were organized and encouraged in their violence by Dave Mazzella, acting as the Metzger's agent.
Mr. Miske, do you have an alias name that you go by in addition to Ken Miske?
Yes, I do.
Sir?
Yes, I do.
Would you please tell the jury what that is?
Ken Death.
You are defendant in this litigation. Have you chosen not to stay in the courtroom? Is that a voluntary choice on your part?
Yes, it is a voluntary choice on my part.
Do you understand that you are a defendant in this lawsuit?
Yes, I do.
And that you have previously given a deposition on April 9th, 1990?
Yes, I do.
Your Honor, I'd like to approach a witness, please.
Me?
I show you what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1 with an accompanying folder that contains an envelope, and ask you if you would look at that, please. Look at that envelope and tell the jury if that was your correct address on October 6, 1988.
Repeat that again.
Tell the jury if the address on the envelope was your correct address on October 6, 1988.
This is an address that I was staying at. Was it my address? That's what you want to hear?
Yes.
It wasn't my address.
Whose address was it?
It was my girlfriend's.
And whose home was that?
Her parents.
Did you stay there most of the time?
About half and half there at this other pad.
Prior to my taking your deposition and showing you a copy of this letter at your deposition in April of 1990, had you seen that letter before?
I vaguely remember seeing it from the past. You know, I was getting a lot of mail, you know, between then and now, so, you know, I vaguely remember that letter.
Get it, Miske, and ask the clerk that she opened this original and provide it to the witness.
Actually, this is a letter my girlfriend had set aside with a bunch of other letters, if I remember right.
What now?
I said this is a letter that I told you my girlfriend Julie set aside at the time when I was out on the road with the band.
And did you tell me when I took your deposition that you had never read that letter before?
Yes, I did.
Is that the truth today? Or you want to change your testimony?
I vaguely, you know, now that, you know, that I've thought about it, I did see it, but I don't, you know, I vaguely remember reading it. Like I said, I've gotten a lot of mail, you know, between then and now, so, you know, you can't expect me to remember every letter I read, you know,
yes,
between here and 1988, sir.
In fact, didn't you take this letter to the East Side White Pride skinhead meeting and show it around to everybody there because you was proud of getting the letter from John Metzger?
I probably took a bunch of letters over there.
Did you take this letter, Exhibit 1?
I don't recall, Mr. Deese.
And Mr. Miske, did you have an occasion in October of 1988 to meet Dave Mazzella?
Yes, I did.
Had you met him before?
No, I haven't.
Didn't you tell me on your deposition that he came directly to your house, he had just got up here, and he pulled in my driveway?
Right.
Where'd he come from?
I'm not sure. It's somewhere from California.
California. Now, when he came in your house, did he make a telephone call?
Yeah.
And who did he make the telephone call to?
Tom Metzger.
Tom Metzger. Isn't it a fact that Dave Mazzella put you on the telephone so that you could talk to Tom Metzger?
I said hello to him.
Sir?
I said hello to him.
Oh, you did say you
Yes.
got on the telephone.
Yes.
And you said hello to Mr. Metzger?
Yes.
So that's how you know that it was Mr. Metzger?
I didn't know who he was. Dave just handed me the phone and said, say hello to this guy. So I said hello.
Say anything else to him?
That's it.
Mr. Metzger say anything to you?
Just said hello. How you doing?
And that ended it?
That's it.
Sir?
That's it.
And he didn't tell you that He had sent Dave Mazzella to organize the East Side White Pride and to kind of moderate between a fight going on between your skinhead group and the Power skinhead group?
No.
He didn't say anything like that?
No.
He didn't say that he wanted you working with Dave Mazzella at the time?
No, he didn't.
Well, at the time, you knew Dave Mazzella was vice president of the War Youth, didn't you?
Not really. Not vice president. I know I'd seen him on TV, who Mazzella was. I seen him on Sally Raphael or something like that.
And he was identified as vice president of the Aryan Youth Movement, wasn't he?
Not that I recall.
Well, let me get back to this. Didn't you know that he was vice president of the Aryan Youth Movement?
Yeah, when he got up here, yeah.
When he got up here, okay, now.
That's when he told me that, when he got up here.
All right. And then you knew that John Metzger was director or president of the Aryan Youth Movement, didn't you?
I didn't know who John Metzger was at the time.
Well, I guess you knew that the Aryan Youth Movement was a part of war, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sir?
Yeah.
You knew that, didn't you?
Right.
It was its youth division, wasn't it?
Yeah, after he explained it to me.
All right. And who explained this? Mazzella?
Yeah.
Now, did Dave Mazzella come to East Side White Pride meetings for the purpose of educating East Side White Pride members about war?
I recall he'd only joined in one meeting.
He only came to one meeting?
Yeah. He was stood outside all the other ones.
That's like just came one time, is that what you say?
He was present one, or I think on the last one.
Was this the meeting that took place on the day that Sirrah was killed?
Yeah, I believe so.
So that meeting would have been the 12th of November, 1988?
Correct.
And you're telling this jury that he never came to any other East Side White Pride meeting or organized or held a meeting himself for East Side White Pride members to come to before that?
No, he didn't. And he didn't organize nothing. To make that clear for the record.
Now, tell the jury, if you would, what you talked to Tom and John about organizing skinhead units up and down the coast of...
I don't think I talked to them about that. I think I mentioned this in this letter here, if that's what you're referring to.
4 months after the murder, Miski wrote from his jail cell to another imprisoned skinhead that he was still true to his cause.
Look on page 4 of the letter.
I explained that everybody should unite instead of fight. That's basically what I'm trying to say.
Did you use the number of 300 chapters of skinheads that could be organized?
That's what I said.
All right. And under what name would these chapters be organized?
AYM.
The Aryan Youth Movement, right? And didn't you state in this letter, of this organizational plan, that, for example, sir?
This was just an idea I had.
I understand.
You know what I'm saying? It was not like it was just a thought.
Just a thought.
Yes.
That you expressed to this other skinhead in this letter, right?
Right.
Well, now, didn't you say in there that in Portland, it would be the Portland chapter of the Aryan Youth Movement? In Chicago, it would be the Chicago chapter of the Aryan Youth Movement. Didn't you state that why have 300 different gangs when we could be one organization through the whole country? You stated that, didn't you?
Yeah.
In fact, you went on to state that we can be one giant fist to slam down against Zog and make Zog really mad.
Right.
Now, what is Zog?
The Zionist occupational government.
Now, does Tom have information about the Zionist occupation government in the material that you read that he sent you?
I've known about Zog since I was a little kid.
Well, tell the jury what Zog is.
It's a basic form of Jewish government.
Let me show you Plaintiff's Exhibit 13. Let me ask you if you can identify this.
This is a song.
Is that in your handwriting?
Yeah.
And was that taken by the police out of your room when they searched your room?
Yeah, this was taken out of a bunch of lyrics I had.
All right. Now, why don't you read that to the jury first?
No, I'm not going to read this. This has nothing to do with the case. This has nothing to do with this case.
Your Honor, may I read it to the jury? Victims all around me, I fear nothing but hate. Bashing their heads in is my only trait. Senseless violence is the only thing I know. Piles of corpses ending, watch them grow. kill my victims for pleasure and for fun, beat them over the head, shoot them with my gun, line them up against the wall, shoot them down and watch them die. I love to hear the agony, their vomit, scream, and cry. Senseless violence is my favorite game. If everyone dies, I am not to blame. Burn their smelly corpses into the ground. I will make sure nobody is to be found.
This song right here takes after a movie.
It does?
Yeah, it does.
And that's in your handwriting.
That's in my handwriting.
And that was found in your room.
Huh?
That was found in your room.
You're trying to say I wrote this song?
I don't know. This is in your handwriting, isn't it?
It's in my handwriting. I just copied it down.
No further questions.
So, whoa. What are you trying to say here?
Dan Levitas, what makes a Maselli and a Miski? Who becomes a skinhead?
Well, there's no one psychological profile or single reason that leads young white youth to join the skinhead movement today. There are a lot of factors. I think Mazzella mentioned his alienation, and that's one of the things we see throughout the skinhead movement, the 3,000 or so skinheads in the country today, their profound sense of alienation, of lack of a future. This is the first generation of young white youth that really has less than an even chance of doing better than their parents did in an economic sense.
I think that they feel, at least today, that for the last 25 years, government policies have been helping people of color. They think that in some instances, the blacks are getting it all. I think it's totally distorted, but there's that anger because they think that programs like affirmative action are hurting them and they don't have a stake anymore. I think they feel powerless.
Bar Mitsuda, watching Ken Miski death on that screen a moment ago, did you have a sense that he could hurt you?
The feeling I got in watching this young man is that he is a product of our culture and that we have to ask what it is in our culture that's producing people like this. The numbers of people that might go out and kill another person with a baseball bat might be relatively small, but the numbers of people that will engage in speech that's Asia bashing, for instance, or that's homophobic or anti-Semitic, those numbers are quite large. You know, in the circles that I move in, primarily in the academy and among lawyers, I hear, unfortunately, those kinds of remarks all the time, in a cleaned up and more sophisticated version, but they exist nonetheless, and I think that creates a receptivity among these young people to these ideas.
So how do we define a hate group?
Those groups that are founded on the principles of white supremacy, of anti-Semitism, of racial supremacy. In the United States today, there are 25,000 active members of organized hate groups, everything from the traditional Nazi organizations through the Ku Klux Klan, which, by the way, only numbers some 5,500 today in this country. So you've got at least 20,000 or so others that are part of groups like the skinhead movement in the Midwest and the Farm Belt, rural organizations like the Posse Comitatus that were active in the early 1980s. All these groups that believe in anti-Semitic, international, Jewish conspiracy, preach race hatred, and practice violence. That's how I would define a hate group.
Who finances them? Where do they get the money?
Well, there's no real mystery to that either. In fact, many of these organizations get their funds from the same sources that other social movement organizations earn their money. As we've seen with Tom Metzger and the experience there in the Portland trial, sales of literature, newsletters, free will donations, occasional wealthy individuals or small business owners that may give them money, running for-profit business enterprises on the side. Many of these organizations are run on something of a shoestring, and the people who operate them are somewhat hand-to-mouth.
Do you think groups like this are truly a threat to our safety, to our liberty?
Well, I think we ought to contextualize this just a little bit, and I don't mean at all to minimize what they're doing today, and it may be true that we have more of them now than we had 20 or 30 years ago. But certainly, if we go back 70 years, in 1924,